Hi everybody, I'm Jake,
And I'm
and
Jimmy.
we're co-founders of Authsed, a permission system as a service, which is built on top of our open source solution SpiceDB, which is an implementation of Google's Zanzibar. We've been wanting to make this video for a little while, where we show you how to model Google Groups. Google Groups, if you're unfamiliar, is a mailing list solution at part of G Suite, which evolved into a general user group management service. It's also an ability to expand on and dive into the core concepts from our Google Docs modeling example that we have in both our playground and on our dashboard.
Google Groups is pretty interesting from a permissions perspective. It allows any user on the internet to both read and post to public mailing lists, which was previously unsupported in SpiceDB until we introduced wildcard support in December 2021. Additionally, permissions are fully dynamic and administrators can actually customize the roles on a per group basis. With that, let's go to play.authsed.com and start modeling.
So here we are in the playground. This is a minimal playground that only has a user definition. I don't have any test data in the test relationships, no assertions, and no expected relations. So this should run perfectly fine, completely empty. Yep.
Yep, starting from scratch.
For real scratch. All right. So the first thing we're gonna do, we didn't really talk much about what Google Groups actually does. So let's go and kind of reverse engineer it from their UI. So here's the Google Groups UI. I'm gonna go and create a new group. We'll call this demo group. Demo for the modeling video. Okay.
Well, like right off the bat, we see that you're creating a group. So I'd imagine there's going to be a group type, right?
Good
Um,
point. Good point.
yeah.
Definition group. So now we have a new object type of group. And then, yeah, I guess within an organization, we can also infer that this is part of an organization, and we're going to need to be able to know who can create a group.
Yep.
We don't really know what that's going to be yet. All right, so there's two things that we've already reverse engineered just on the first screen. Okay. All right, so let's just work through this dialogue bit by bit. The
Yeah,
first
this,
part
this is
is,
a lot of information, right? A lot
yeah,
of
this is,
permissions information.
and this is using the user-defined roles pattern where you get to specify how people can interact with the group based on settings of the group. So here, the very first box is who can search for a group, right? So I guess we're going to need a permission for view in search results. Search. Okay.
So are
Uh,
search results going to be the same thing as regular conversations in a mailing list? Or is that going to be a similar
I th-
permission potentially? Um,
I think based on down here it says who can view conversations that these are separate.
yep. Interesting. Okay.
I think searching, being aware of the existence of a group is different than
Oh,
um,
this is searching for the group. Yeah, that's
yeah.
interesting. That's at a very like a different high level. That's maybe at the organization. Um,
Okay. So under here we've got organization and we've got group members. Um, so it seems like everyone in the organization is a superset of group members. So now we can infer that a group also has members. Those are going to be of type user, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
right. Um,
and then it's group members or entire organization. So,
I wonder if we should step back before we start fleshing out permissions and figure out what are the different roles that users can have within a group, um, so that beyond just member, right?
okay, well, if I hover over this, I see group managers and group owners as well.
hmm So
Uh,
that's at
member.
least those, right?
Yep, that's a good point. So, owner. I'm guessing those are also both going to be users.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we've got our three different relations that someone can have to a group. And then in view and search, we had entire organization or group members. So it seems like in either case, group members are going to be members of the organization. Is that true? Can we assume that?
I would imagine so.
Okay.
I think so. I think that's the case.
Oh, this also means that a group is going to be part of an organization.
Hmm.
I always misspell that. Is it spelled correctly this time? Looks good.
So we probably
Okay.
need to have a member relation inside of organization as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then, oh, for this, in order to keep everything at the user level, we probably want these to be the members of the organization. View and search. Okay, so we need another relation to keep track of who is allowed, who has been bound through this permission panel from being able to view search results.
Mhm.
So these can be, we can call these people searchers, and it can be the members of an organization,
Yep.
right?
And
Because this is
that,
dynamic. We're not going to always, if we wanted to always allow the members of the organization to search, then we could just do organization member,
yeah,
right?
exactly. We would just reference it directly rather than creating an actual relationship for it.
But because this is user defined, we have to move that into the data, and therefore we're going to use a relationship. We're going to have to write a relationship in order to open up all of the organization members as searchers. All right, so here we're going to have members of the group as well as searchers. Does that look right?
Yeah, I think that looks right. If we go back to the panel, yeah. So the difference, the difference here is basically representing in the dropdown. You would not write any relationship um, to the searchers relation. Like you would not write any relationships with the searchers relation if you did not want this secondary option, right,
Right.
in the
So this
dropdown.
doesn't require a relationship.
Yep, yeah, that we just get for free, and then if you decide to click the second box, that's when you would have to have written relationships.
Yep. Cool. That makes sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, do we want to test this out?
Sure, yeah, we can write some test relationships,
Okay.
get
So
some
what do
data in here early.
we were calling this like test group or something, right? We can just call it group. So we've got group test is going to belong to an organization. I guess auth works as well as any.
Yep.
I guess as the creator of the group, I'll be the owner. Okay. What else? And we want to test the various scenarios of searchability. But for now, let's just go and make sure that I, as an owner, can view and search. So we're going to set up an expected relation. So we're going to have group test relation view and search, and we're going to see what auth thinks. It doesn't think that anybody should be able to view and search. Interesting. So I'm an owner, and this is
Yeah,
bound
but
to member.
an owner is not a member though.
Ah, so this is probably a good time to use this pattern that we've built up over time, which is to have a direct member and then to have essentially a synthetic relation that's expressed as a permission that computes the membership as all of the roles, all of the people who can be directly members of this, right?
Yep. And so the reason why we're doing this is because we cannot use the plus operator anywhere outside of permissions, right?
Yep.
In this way, we can change other relationships and they all kind of just percolate down to this member concept that is then used everywhere else.
Okay. All right, let's see what it looks like now. Hey, there we go.
Boom.
All right. We should also add you. I guess we should add both of us as members of the organization.
Should we add me as a regular member and maybe not an owner or maybe a manager?
Well, right now in our organization, we only have members. So we probably also need different roles in the organization, but let's skip that for now.
Mhm.
User Jake.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself.
User Jimmy. All right, so now let's verify that we still don't, you still can't view and search because we haven't opened up this particular group to be viewable in search to organization members. In order to do that, we would do searchers at organization auth members. All right, and now, nice.
There we go.
So now it's telling us that Jimmy can view it in search because he's an organization member. Jake can view it in search both because I'm an owner and because I'm a member of the organization. And also, if you wanted to test whether organization members as a collective group were allowed to view and search, you could do that as a subject on a check. Okay. Wow. So we're already at 25 lines of schema, and we're on the first dropdown of this permissions panel.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, I think the first dropdown has a lot of complexity, right? It's already talking about like a hierarchy that's built into groups and all the user interactions with it. So I think the first thing you're going to build may always seem semi-overwhelming, and that's just because you don't have any of your types necessarily built in yet. You don't have kind of like all of your data models fleshed out.
Yeah, you're inheriting a bunch of complexity just by virtue of interfacing with the system at all.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, moving on to this second Dropbox, who can join a group? Anyone in the org can join. Anyone in the org can ask, and only invited users can join. So it's interesting. We've got a difference between direct joining and asking to join. So let's go do permission ask to join and then join. Okay. And again, it seems like invited users can always join. There's no ability to disable inviting users. So we're going to have another relationship.
Yeah, for invited users, right?
Mm-hmm. And then invited users can join.
Oh, perhaps we want to make that similar to permission member, where it's actually computed. Because I wonder if it would be interesting to model the permission such that direct members are always quote unquote invited, right?
Well, a direct member has already joined the group.
Oh, I meant organization members. Sorry. Like perhaps we could pretend that all organization members were actually already invited and kind of deduplicate behavior there.
Except that that's part of the dropdown. So
Yeah.
we need to keep that in the data.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because you wouldn't necessarily want to always enable inviting and also having organizations, members of the organization join. Yeah, because there's an ask. Yeah, okay. That makes sense to keep them split then.
Yep. Anyone in the organization can ask, anyone in the organization can join.
Yep.
So we also need the ability to dynamically bind whether people in the organization can join. So we're going to need another relation, joiners, I guess. And that's going to be similar to searchers. And then askers.
Hmm.
Same thing, right? So here we're going to have who can ask to join, the joiners can, and who can join those who are invited, and the, oops, sorry, this should be askers. Look good?
Yep. Our asker is always organization. Yes, yeah, because invited as users. Yep, and that's the difference. Yeah. Okay.
All right, should we test it out?
Yeah, let's write some relationships. I think that'll make it more concrete.
All right, well, first let's just see who can ask to join. Group, test, ask to join.
Do we want to try to
And
guess what it'll be first?
sure. Ask to join right now without any other relationships should be empty. And who can directly join, who's been invited, there's no relationships there. And who can join directly, there's no relationships there. So those should also be empty. There we go. All right, now let's invite someone. How about we invite someone named Melissa? Invited user Melissa. Okay, so now Melissa should be able to directly join. Yep. And now let's let users of the org ask to join, but not directly join. Askers, organization.
So maybe we should break this out into a different section here and put a comment around it, because this is effectively what that drop-down box is letting you configure. So in your code, you would write this tuple, effectively, this relationship, when someone selects this option in the box.
This relationship to allow any user in the org to ask to join, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then similarly, this could be joiners. Any user in the org to join without asking.
Because in a real system, like, these test relationships are going to be the things that your application are writing to the AuthZ and SpiceDB APIs. So it kind of makes sense to break them out.
These relationships will get created or deleted based on the settings that we pick over here.
Exactly. This form gets submitted to your application looks at the form and then writes these tuples to AuthZ.
Right, this relationship, I'm just going to shorten these to rel to save my fingers some work. Right, this relationship to allow any org member to search for the group. Sound good?
Yep. I think that makes it way more clear. It's going to help us jump around in the test relationships as well.
Cool. All right. Next, who can view conversations? Again, immediately we've got a new permission type. So we have, this is about joining.
Yeah, and this is finally going back to my earlier question, which was, is searching and viewing conversations the same? So looks like they're very distinct.
Okay. So we
this
can
is
limit
going to
it.
flex all of our roles, right? But it's interesting, it actually combines. So if you select group managers, it implies both owners and managers.
Right, yeah.
I don't think that's going to change our design.
I can't drag this over.
Yeah. Do you think that, so this is actually kind of interesting. We could model this in AuthZ, or the application could just write two tuples, like two relationships. I keep using this word tuple, but it's synonymous with relationship. Right. So we have a choice of basically creating a group that is group owners plus managers, and saying that, like, if you add managers, you always get owners, or we have the decision to keep them as distinct entities, distinct sets of entities, and just having the application write two relationships if you select managers, and basically have this logic that they have for composition inside the application.
Yeah. One interesting thing to note is that I can't turn off owners.
Mm-hmm.
So just by default, we already know that,
Yeah, it has to be owners,
yeah.
no matter what.
And then, so similarly, actually, I'm going to break up some of these and put them down with the permissions that
That makes
they
sense.
invited. This all has to do with joining. This all has to do with searching. So for this, we're going to need another one. We're going to call it viewer. And based on the panel, we're going to have viewers can be owners, or we can upgrade it to allow managers to view conversations, or we can upgrade it to allow members or the entire organization. So I think this is going to be, it can be a group manager or of type group member.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. Or organization member, right?
Yep, that looks right. Those are the three options to the right of owner.
And then organization view can be owner or viewer. Should we try it out?
Yeah.
All right. So what's it going to be at the start?
So it should be the owners, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And then if we want to allow, we don't have to try all three of, well, what do you think? Do you think we should try all three of them independently?
I think that would probably exercise it best, right?
This relationship to allow.
So that would effectively be like checking the furthest right box in the UI.
To check the furthest right box, we would click organization member, or we would write a relationship like this.
Organization, yeah.
Allow org members to read conversations. So this would be viewers, right? What is it?
It's viewer, not
Viewer.
viewers. That's why it's giving you, yeah.
Should I make it viewers to match all the other?
Yeah. Yeah, we use the plural form everywhere else.
Okay. So now this should explode to basically everybody.
Yeah, yep.
Yep.
There we go.
Interesting that Melissa didn't show up because we did not explicitly bind Melissa as an org member.
Yeah, she was supposed to be a random person that was just invited for the previous example, right?
So now that she's an org member,
see, it's going to change a couple of them because she can't ask to join anymore.
She can't ask to join?
Oh, she can ask to join, but now she's a member. So before, it was if we did invite only, right?
In ask to join, should we get rid of people who are already members of the group or invited? It doesn't make any sense to ask to join if you can directly join, right?
Yeah. Well, wait, can we go back to that drop down just to confirm that that's the behavior that is possible? So anyone in the organization can ask to join. Yeah, I guess we want to say that if you're already a member, you should be subtracted from the people that can ask, right?
If you're already a member or if you've been directly invited. Because at that point, you can just join. So ask to join could be askers minus those who are allowed to join. And I think this is going to be pretty drastic because right now we have it set up. Yep. It drops it to nothing because we have it set up where anyone in the org can ask. But if we comment out this, that functionality, essentially if we switch the Dropbox, now, well, right. So we don't have anybody who's been neither invited or a part of the group.
Yeah. Get another
So we
person to
need,
add.
yep, we need someone else in the org.
Joey.
Uh, oh, no, no, no.
Many
So
J's.
we want this. We don't want people to be able to join without asking. I think that was the
Just
difference.
just the wrong box.
We can add Joey.
Just to have someone that is neither invited, but is also a member.
So what do we have now? Oh, Jake and Jimmy can still ask to join because we have not excluded actual members.
Hmm.
Whoops. We should probably also exclude members from those who can join. That looks right. I guess you were the test case.
Yeah, not
Or
Joey. Yep.
yep.
Yeah, because I'm a member, but I hadn't been invited.
Okay.
There we go.
So Melissa can directly join because she was invited. Jimmy can ask to join because he's in the org but was not directly invited.
Hmm.
And then if we uncomment this again, we should see you flip over from ask to join to join.
Yep. There you
Yep.
go.
Awesome.
Cool. So
Well, that was
that's how you would,
interesting.
yeah, and that's effectively writing that single relationship as you click the options in the drop down box. Um,
Uh-oh, what happened?
cool. Oh, you're gonna have to go back.
Okay.
There we go.
So I think we've covered this one, the view.
Hmm.
Who
We
can
can now do
post?
posting.
So I'm guessing posting is going to be really similar to view.
Yeah, we could call this create conversations, right? Unless posting is different. Oh no, posting would also be replying, I guess.
Do we want to just call it post?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually interesting they don't have different permissions for creating. It's like starting a thread versus replying to a thread.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you can't really do that with email. Someone sends an email to the list, I guess it could bounce back. Um,
So this is exactly the same up until this point, but now there's a new permission, anyone on the web.
gotcha.
So that means any user, and this is what we were saying earlier about needing wildcard support for this, or public
Exactly.
support.
Yeah. So we want to have some concept of public to be able to implement anyone on the web. Um,
So in auth said, you specify public as a type like that. Does that cover it?
uh, well, hmm.
Oops, no, this shouldn't be viewers. This should be posters. Let's try it
So
out.
yeah, let's try this out. And then I think I have another idea for another way we could possibly do this.
Allow anyone to post in a group. Test. Posters. Is that what we called it?
Yeah. Yep.
Posters. And then we want that to be at user colon star. Right?
So it's interesting to note here that you used user colon star both in the test relationship and as a type in the schema, um, and that is separate from user. Um, the design of wildcard is purposely done that way, right? The idea is that we don't want to accidentally allow you to use wildcards and open up public unless you're absolutely certain that you wanted it for that permission. So you've said anyone can be a poster now. So it's showing that because it's saying anyone can be a poster, but it's also saying because you're an owner,
Yep.
you can post. So that's the to the left of the slider.
Yep.
But we should probably be seeing all the other members too, right? Or no, actually, let me go. Can I see the schema
Yeah.
again?
The reason that we're not seeing every user in the entire system is just
You just said
because,
owners and posters.
well, no, it's because enumerating every registered user here would be sort of overwhelming,
Yeah, it's kind
right?
of
So we
pointless.
just use the user set. But one thing we can do is we can write some assertions to make sure that that's actually like that still works.
Yep.
So we can say that
Yeah, so the expected relations is actually short-circuiting. It's not going to list absolutely everyone because that could be a lot of data potentially. So instead, yeah, we can assert that the members are actually members.
okay, so that's true. Um, let's see a user who random nobody. Yeah, they can also do
Yeah,
it. Let's
cool.
just test that this is working right. Actually, I think I need list here. Okay, so it's saying that a random nobody is not false, right? So a random nobody can post.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that would
Um,
contradict the other one.
yeah. So an interesting thing here is that we actually have a user ID for these users.
Exactly. So what I was going to say earlier was prior to wildcard, um, we could have also done a thing where we just said, hey, everyone who isn't logged in, they're going to be user like colon anonymous. And we could have a very particular ID. Like we could say random nobody is actually not logged in, or we could say user anyone or not logged in, right? Yeah. Um,
Something like that.
yeah, exactly like this. And so this is what you had to basically do before we introduced wildcard support. Um, but there are definitely pros and cons to this, right? Like in your application, you have to be aware of if the current user is logged in, is actually anonymous or not. Like, are they logged in? And then you would have to determine that they aren't, and then resolve to this user colon anonymous, and then ask auth Z if user colon anonymous has access to this thing, um,
But
rather than okay, go for it. What were
yeah,
you gonna
I've got
say?
a bunch of Bobby Tables style devious people in my org though, and we actually have a named user whose name is anonymous. So
Oh
how
yeah,
can we work around that problem? Because this could actually be a registered user, so I can't just send anonymous as the subject on the check.
exactly. So I think that's what makes this really tricky. You would have to somehow design or reserve the name anonymous so that no one could register with that name. That seems really error prone. Yeah, and exactly like Bobby tables. So yeah, exactly. Another option then is to create a whole new type called anonymous user, um, and that type. I mean, you wouldn't be able to override the name in this scenario, but you still have that trade-off that I was describing earlier, where your code has to be aware that the person is anonymous or not, and then kind of have an if statement that says if they are anonymous, then you kind of have to say anonymous user, like you have to use the anonymous user type. Um,
So this also gives us the power to distinguish between truly
Logged
anonymous
in users.
users and logged in users.
Hmm.
So now I could
Yeah.
do
Now we're layering
anon
wildcard on top of that as well.
answer.
Um,
And then
So in
we
this
see this
scenario, yeah,
doesn't
so
matter.
so this is actually really interesting. You know, when you're in like Google Docs and you can see like randomly generated names for people in the top right, where it's like
Oh yeah,
someone
like
is like a giraffe,
Slyfox or yeah.
yeah, and someone is a dog. Like this is actually that type of functionality. You could implement that with this. Um, so you could actually assign temporary names to anonymous users and then have them actually uniquely represented. So you could set up dynamic permissions for them, um, and then maybe like after a certain amount of time, garbage collect those and get rid of them. So you're not just accruing data for users that are disappearing eventually. Or you could make it so that when they register, all the permissions that you had written for their temporary anonymous user get copied over to a logged in user. An interesting way that you could run like a trial program or something, implement a whole bunch of behavior while someone hasn't registered yet, and then copy it.
This is any anonymous. It's one of those words that if you type it a few times, it seems to lose all meaning. Cool. Yep. Look good?
Yeah. It's super interesting, just like the amount of ways that you can represent anonymous users. I think that naively, when you think about this problem, you think, oh yeah, it's just like conditional, either you're logged in or you're not. But actually, there's a whole bunch of different behavior that you can implement to have quote unquote anonymous users or not logged in users. It just like, it kind of like humbles you to actually think the problem is think the problem through and realize it's way more complicated than you had initially thought. So shall we move on to the last one?
Yes, the last one. Who can view members?
Interesting.
This looks super similar to view conversations, so I'm just going to start from there. So I'll call this members viewer, view members.
You members viewers, we're using plural, right?
Members viewers. Yep.
Cool. So that's very, very similar.
So then over here we can do view members. This should just be owners because we haven't written anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you go.
We haven't tested anywhere. We share with like just the group's managers.
That's true. We haven't done managers.
This row.
Am I a manager? Do we have someone that has a manager role in the test data?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So view members group. This is going to be members viewers.
You're missing that.
You're
missing the admin members. Yeah.
Group test manager. Right. So that should not change anything.
Yep.
Well, it's saying that anyone who has that role would be allowed.
Yeah. If you wanted to perform a check directly to ask the question, do managers have access to this? Osed would tell you yes.
So now we can bust out Joey.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And make him a manager of the group.
Yep.
Look good?
Yeah, it looks good.
All right. Of course, he's going to get a bunch of other things as well. But yeah, view members. And Joey shows up.
Yep, it's demonstrating the exact same thing we're doing in view members, just simultaneously in all of the other boxes, right?
Yeah, he's inheriting a bunch of permissions because things that are like shared with everyone in the org, he's also getting as well.
Yep.
All right, now we're done. So let's just click next to create. Oh no. All right, yeah, of course.
Add people.
There's the management of the group membership itself that we haven't modeled at all, right?
So being an owner, the actions that you can take as an owner.
Yeah, so these are,
yeah, add member is what we just saw.
Who can add a member?
Yeah, is that like
presumably
a manager?
Who can?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, let's enumerate all of them because you have to remove them. I'm sure there's adding owners, right? Or like
we already have
adding
a few
managers.
Yep. Permission, add owner. Here, we can save ourselves some time.
Yeah, for each role there, yeah, exactly. There's gonna be add owner, add manager, right? Add remove for both. Oh, the multi cursor support.
Move manager, and then let's see this.
Boom.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
All right. Who can add members? Presumably owners,
And managers. Yeah.
managers, owner. Who can remove? Probably
Same
anyone
people.
who can add.
Yep.
Who can add a manager? An owner.
Dan. Yep.
Who can add an owner? Only another owner, I would guess.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you think a manager can add a manager?
Um. Hmm. That's a good question.
Probably, if an owner can add another owner.
Yeah, that makes sense to some degree, but I guess I don't totally have an understanding of the role of manager. Like within Google Groups, like what is the intent of the management role? Is that like someone that can, um, yeah, like what are they actually supposed to do? I guess. Um, this is not Google's
Random,
documentation.
non-Google. All right. I guess if it were me, we can just kind of guess here.
I would say
I would
yes. I think
probably
that's
let
fair.
managers add other managers, right?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
But certainly only owners can add owners and remove owners, right?
Hmm. Yeah, or else you'd privilege escalate if you're a manager.
Okay.
Um,
All right. So we had you as a, or no, we had Joey as a manager, right? And then let's see. Anything else that we can directly add members? I think this is just for group creation. Is there anything else in these text boxes that we need to dive into a little deeper?
um, so there's directly add members. I think we
Yeah.
covered that uh, as well earlier. Um, yeah, I think that's it for here. Um, so what all can you enter into the group managers and group owners and members? That box when you start typing, like we saw Joey, saw Jake.
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to add uh, other groups?
I
Like,
don't know.
could you try adding like
How about like
owners at or
security?
security? Yeah, at.
Oh,
Interesting.
interesting. What does that what does that mean for our schema?
So it means
Uh,
that we're gonna have to also inherit from groups. So groups can also be all of the places where members can be.
you think I can invite a group?
Um, I would imagine if you invite a group, it would send something to the owners, maybe of another group. Um, maybe.
Is that all we need to change to add groups as being part of other groups? Well, let's try it.
Um, yeah, I think there's one way to find out. I think it
Group.
doesn't actually make sense to invite another group.
Um, owner. We'll make you the owner of the security group.
Cool.
So now if we share, and then let's make the security group a manager of the test group. So you as an owner will be a member. So this means that any member of the security group can manage the test group, right?
Hmm.
All right. We need some. add member, remove member, add user, owner. Okay.
There you go.
Wow. All
Yeah,
right.
we got a lot.
All right. Who can add a manager? Yeah, members of the security group can add managers, and you can add a manager because you're a member of the security group. Yep, you can remove managers because you're an owner, which makes you a member of the security group. Who can view conversations? You can view conversations still because you're actually a member of the org. Yeah, I think that did it.
Yeah, it's actually really impressive that by merely changing the type or adding the union of the types, that we just get all that functionality for free.
Wow. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and create the group and see if there's anything else we can learn.
It's fingers crossed there's no information leak. Cool.
All right, conversations.
Just got an email.
Let's see. Oh,
Wait, what's that? There's like pending and banned. I think
I think pending is probably
that's our ask.
invited,
Yeah, or invited, sorry. Yeah.
and then
But
banned.
yeah, we
Oh,
haven't
you're
modeled
right.
banned at all.
Pending could also be those who have asked to join.
Mhm.
That doesn't really, as far as I can figure out, that doesn't really influence
Yeah,
the
that
other
doesn't really sound like
permissions.
pending though. It sounds like pending would be like you invited and they haven't accepted yet, rather than someone has requested.
But I
But
think
that
either way, like just
either way, yeah.
requesting to join. I guess the one interesting thing is if you were pending, if you had asked to join, you probably wouldn't want to be allowed to ask to join anymore, right?
Hmm. That's
So we
true.
could
Yeah.
do relation pending user, right? And then we would do ask to join minus those who are pending, right?
Hmm.
So that seems to work. But the more interesting case, I think, is this banned users. We haven't talked about that at all yet. Banned. Okay. What does that impact?
Well,
Probably everything.
immediately before we even do that, like we've added a new kind of like user type. So before we had add or remove for all the user types. So there's definitely going to be add and remove banned users.
Yep.
And then can you ban a group, right?
Ban. Ban. Ban user.
They're not a member, yeah.
Ban. Unban user. And I guess who can ban and unban? Probably managers.
Owner and manager, yeah.
Ban user.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and add those. Can you hear the construction above me?
No, actually. Well, maybe a little bit when you talk, but when you're quiet, noise cancellation.
Nice.
Mhm.
Okay. Yep.
So
Those
yeah,
are our members and managers.
yeah,
But what should a banned user, like what should that
yeah.
actually do?
Yep. Now we actually have to restrict them because we've just made a bucket called banned users.
Group test banned user a black hat.
I have a feeling that we're gonna be going through and subtracting a band from many things.
Yeah, I have a feeling you're right as well. Should a banned person be considered a member?
I would assume not. Um,
What if
I'd
they're
assume you want to
indirect
filter them.
member already? Do we want to subtract them out, or do we want to just say that if you ban someone, you have to remove them from membership?
Um, that's tricky. I
I think
think
it's
it
easier
makes
to just
sense. I think it
subtract them
makes,
out.
well, I actually think it makes sense to do it this way too, because if you're a direct member, but then someone decides to ban you, like that's going to be the common case. Someone posts something bad, right? And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that. You're banned. Um, but you probably want to maintain the information that you have like in your application's database around like all this person's other posts and things. Like you want to know that that person was a member at the time they were banned. And like, yeah, to me, I think this makes sense. I think you should be able to preemptively ban people, but I also think it makes sense that in the vast majority of cases there will be members that already exist, and then you want to ban them. Now, what's interesting here is that this is going to subtract ban from the total set, unioning owner, manager, direct member. So if you ban an owner, theoretically, they're going to be removed as a member.
Hmm. Good point. So does that mean we should consider not subtracting them out of the members?
Well, another thing we could potentially do is use parentheses, right? Is that would that fix it if we just said only do direct member minus band, and then that plus owner plus manager? But use
So
our
then
good
you
friend
can't, you
PEMDOT's.
effectively can't ban an owner then.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the desired behavior, right?
Mm-hmm. I think we should just make them go away.
Okay.
And I think maybe if we want to prevent
If you, yeah,
can be
you want
banned.
to. I'm thinking of the scenario where owners are fighting with each other and they start banning each other. But then
Can
again, owners can
be
always remove
banned.
another owner's permission, right?
Can be banned. I guess would be everybody.
The members minus owner minus manager, right?
I think a manager can probably be banned by an owner.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Let's put parentheses here just to make it more explicit that it's like all of those three things minus the banned.
Hmm.
Can banned people view in search? Well, they're already subtracted out. But what if they're in the searchers list explicitly? So if they got subtracted from here, but they were directly added as a searcher, then that would not keep the ban in place. So we should also subtract it out of here.
Yep.
Can banned
But
people
like,
ask to
well,
join?
that's interesting because the view and search that's kind of like like a hell ban, right? Because they're not even able to see that the group exists anymore.
Oh, right.
Um, so I just wanted to note that that's like behavior that you may or may not want. You may still want them to see that the group exists, but when they click into it, they see that they're banned from the group. But maybe you don't want that. Maybe you don't want them to know that the group even exists.
Can they view conversations? Clearly not.
Yeah, that would be the point. Posting as well as the point.
Clearly not. Can they view members? They can't even know the group exists, so definitely not. What about these things? For the ones where they're an owner, we don't have to make any adjustment.
Yeah, it's just manager, right?
So this should be manager minus band.
Hmm.
Okay. I should have just done like multi-cursor. Manager.
It's fine. Cool.
All right. Oh, should we ban you?
Yeah, please do.
I guess the black hat was part of the org. So
Oh
before
yeah,
we
we
ban them, we could see. So they're allowed to join the group, they're allowed to view conversations, they're allowed to view and search. So now if we ban them, those things should disappear.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
1, 2, 3. Yep.
Cool. And then let's try banning me now as well, since I have.
As since you're directly added. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. There should
Okay.
be way more removals.
Okay. Yep.
There you go.
You've been deleted.
Yep. That seems right.
Cool. All right. I think that's it.
Yeah. I don't see anything else. There's membership settings. We could talk about how like we can model more settings or like access to settings, but modifying settings is probably just another simple permission with owners or managers probably. I don't think there's really anything interesting there probably. Cool.
Membership settings is like how often I get subscription.
Yeah, and then there's
And
group
then
settings.
This is just that same
That
UI
same panel.
rehashed.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
Cool.
some group metadata too. Just like the
Oh, who can
description.
contact group owners?
Ooh.
Well, I think, oh my gosh.
Well, a lot of this is the same style of permission, though. If you look at
Yeah.
it, right, the sliders are all the same, so it's going to be a lot of copy and paste.
Well, we're an hour into this video, so I think we're going to leave this as an exercise to the reader.
Yeah, can be an exercise. to
Oh,
the
here.
viewer.
Who can manage members?
So that's also.
So that was also would need to be made dynamic.
Mhm.
All right, well, this has been interesting. I think we should probably finish this up after the video and then post it as an example. Well, so that was as much of Google Groups as we were able to model in the hour that we worked on it. It was even more complicated than we anticipated, but that does actually make it an excellent showcase of SpiceDB and Offset. We will finish this up and post a link in the video description below. And we'll include all of the additional functionality that we found while we were working on it in the groups settings panel.
You can join us and the community of developers modeling and integrating their own apps on Discord by going to authsed.com/discord. And you can also read about newer features like wildcards on our blog at authsed.com. Stay tuned for future videos, and thanks for watching.